This message is issued by the Emergency Coordination Center. Please listen closely and follow the instructions. This is not a drill. We are issuing this advisory regarding unusual canine behavioral patterns affecting children in residential areas. Over the past 72 hours, our dispatch centers have received an unprecedented volume of calls regarding domestic dogs exhibiting aggressive warning behaviors specifically directed at children. These incidents are not random acts of animal aggression. The pattern is too consistent, too specific, and the circumstances too unusual to dismiss as coincidence. The first report came in Tuesday evening from Millbrook Drive. A family golden retriever, described by neighbors as exceptionally gentle with children, began displaying intense protective behaviors around their 7-year-old neighbor. The dog would position itself between the child and its own family, hackles raised, emitting low, continuous growls whenever the child approached their property. The family initially assumed their pet was simply having an off day. By Wednesday morning, similar calls were flooding in from across 3 counties. Dispatch logs show reports every 14 to 18 minutes throughout the day. The common thread in every case: previously friendly family dogs suddenly treating specific children as immediate threats. Not all children, not random children, specific individuals that these animals had known and interacted with peacefully for months or even years. A mother on Cedar Street reported that her normally docile beagle refused to let her daughter's best friend enter their house. The 8-year-old girl had been welcomed in their home countless times before, but when she approached the front door that Wednesday afternoon, the beagle planted itself in the doorway, teeth bared, producing a sound the mother described as not quite a growl, not quite a whine, but something that made my skin crawl. The child seemed confused, asking why the dog didn't like her anymore. The mother said what disturbed her most was her daughter's reaction. Instead of seeming hurt or confused like a normal child would be, the girl just stared at the dog with what she described as adult eyes in a child's face. Later that evening, more calls came in from Rosewood Heights. A German Shepherd that had lived peacefully with a family for 6 years suddenly began following their 10-year-old son everywhere, never more than 3 feet away. The dog would not eat, would not sleep, and would not leave the boy's side. When the parents tried to create distance between them, the dog became frantic, clawing at doors and windows. The father reported that the dog kept looking up at empty spaces above the child's head, tracking something invisible with its eyes. It was like watching someone follow a tennis ball with their gaze, he said, except there was nothing there. The most disturbing call came from Sunset Ridge Drive just after midnight. A couple reported their border collie had been barking continuously at their neighbor's child for over 6 hours. The 12-year-old boy was standing perfectly still in his backyard, had been standing there since dinner time, and hadn't moved despite the October chill. The parents said they'd tried calling to the child, but he didn't respond. When they walked closer to their fence line to check on him, their dog became absolutely hysterical, throwing itself against the fence, foam around its mouth, eyes wide with what they described as pure terror. The child slowly turned his head toward them and smiled. The wife said it was the most normal, pleasant smile she'd ever seen, but the dog reacted as if it had seen something horrific. They called the boy's parents, but no one answered. The house appeared empty, yet the child remained in the yard until sunrise. We have identified 4 distinct stages that these dogs progress through when encountering affected children. Stage 1 is restlessness. Your dog may begin pacing, whining softly, or positioning itself between you and the child. This typically occurs within the first few minutes of contact. During this stage, the animal appears confused, tilting its head frequently and sniffing the air around the child repeatedly. Stage 2 involves active warning behaviors. The dog will begin barking, growling, or displaying other obvious signs of distress. Its body language becomes defensive, with raised hackles and lowered head. Many owners report their pets seem to be looking slightly above or behind the child, rather than directly at them. One dispatcher noted that in every call she received, Owners mentioned their dogs appeared to be tracking movement that humans couldn't see. Stage 3 is characterized by protective positioning. The dog will attempt to physically block access to the child or prevent the child from approaching family members. Animals in this stage often refuse commands from their owners and may become destructive if separated from their perceived protective duty. A veterinarian in Pine Valley reported that dogs brought to her clinic during stage 3 showed elevated stress hormones consistent with animals in life-threatening situations, despite no apparent physical danger. Stage 4 represents a breakdown in normal canine behavior. Dogs reach this stage when exposed to affected children for extended periods. They become unable to eat, sleep, or function normally. Their behavior alternates between catatonic stillness and explosive panic. 3 dogs have been reported missing after reaching stage 4, last seen running from residential areas toward wooded regions. All 3 families described their pets as looking haunted in the days before their disappearance. If you observe your dog exhibiting these behaviors around any child, immediately remove your pet from the situation. Do not attempt to correct or punish the dog's behavior through training or discipline. These responses appear to be instinctual warnings that serve a protective purpose. Create physical distance between your dog and the child in question. If possible, keep windows and doors secured to prevent the child from approaching your property. Do not allow affected children into your home, regardless of previous relationships or family connections. Multiple families have reported that once these children cross the threshold of a residence, dogs become inconsolably distressed and may harm themselves attempting to escape. One family on Maple Grove Street had to rush their Cocker Spaniel to emergency veterinary care after the dog repeatedly threw itself against a sliding glass door trying to get away from their daughter's friend who was visiting inside. Pay attention to your dog's eye movements and body language. If your pet appears to be tracking something above or around a child that you cannot see, trust their senses. Dogs possess sensory capabilities that humans lack, and their perception may be detecting something that standard observation cannot identify. Document the time, location, and specific behaviors you observe. This information is being collected for pattern analysis. Avoid direct confrontation or questioning of affected children. Families who have attempted to discuss their dog's behavior with these children report receiving responses that seem rehearsed or unnatural. One mother said the child answered her questions like an adult pretending to be a child. Another parent noted that when asked why she thought the dog was upset, the 11-year-old girl replied with technical knowledge about canine stress responses that no child should possess. The pattern is spreading beyond our initial 3-county area. Reports are now coming in from districts 70 miles away, following major highway corridors and suburban development patterns. Emergency veterinary clinics have been placed on standby to handle the increasing number of animals requiring immediate medical attention due to stress-related conditions. Our behavioral analysts have noted that affected children share certain characteristics. They appear calm and unaffected by the dog's distressed reactions. Many seem to deliberately approach homes where dogs are present, despite the obvious negative response their presence creates. Most concerning, several witnesses report that these children seem to know exactly how close they can get before dogs reach stage 4 crisis levels, stopping just short of triggering complete behavioral breakdown. Dispatchers across the region report that calls regarding these incidents often end abruptly. Families begin describing their situation normally, then suddenly hang up mid-sentence. When we attempt to call back, we frequently reach disconnected numbers or families who claim they never contacted emergency services. 3 dispatch centers have logged calls where they can hear dogs barking frantically in the background, but the caller speaks in an unnaturally calm voice, insisting that everything is fine and their pet is simply being a little dramatic today. Child welfare services have been unable to locate several of the children referenced in our reports. When investigators visit addresses provided by concerned neighbors, they find empty houses with no signs of recent habitation. Yet witnesses insist they saw these children just hours before official visits. Security cameras in these neighborhoods show only empty yards and streets during the time frames when multiple residents report clear visual contact with the children in question. If your dog begins exhibiting warning behaviors around any child, do not ignore these signals. Your pet may be perceiving a threat that exists beyond normal human sensory detection. Remove your animal from the situation immediately and contact authorities if the child attempts to maintain contact despite your dog's obvious distress. Several families report that affected children will return repeatedly to homes where dogs have shown negative reactions, sometimes appearing in backyards or near windows despite clear dismissal from residents. Trust your dog's instincts. These animals have served as companions and protectors for thousands of years, developing senses that have kept families safe from threats that humans might not recognize until too late. When a dog that has shown consistent, gentle behavior toward children suddenly becomes protective to the point of self-harm, they are communicating something critical about the nature of what they perceive. This advisory will be repeated every hour until further notice. If you are currently experiencing these behavioral issues with your dog, please ensure all family members remain together and avoid isolation. Do not attempt to approach or communicate with children who triggered these responses in your pets. The silence from families who initially reported these incidents suggests that the situation may be more serious than standard animal behavioral problems. Remember, when dogs stop barking, it doesn't always mean the danger is past. Sometimes it means they've given up trying to warn us.